A very good evening. How are you guys doing? Welcome to Sembang with 10X. And this week we are in episode 6. Our title for today is Murder of Education. I know it sounds so serious, but first of all, how are you guys doing today? Hope everyone is well. Extended lockdown again, more enhanced lockdown. So I think everybody is going a little bit crazy at home. Just stay in there, be healthy, don't roam outside, and don't get caught. So, how are you doing, Naveen, today? You're on mute, Naveen.
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'm doing fine at home. I guess I just saw the news. We got a new deputy prime minister. So, wow.
That's, that's news for all of us. And, anyways, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our talk show for today. Hope you all are settled in or getting prepared for dinner, or you can watch the show while having dinner. Adam will not be joining us today. He's got a prior engagement. So it will be me, Nishan, and Naveen. And we've got a lovely guest to join you all shortly. So, our topic for today is the murder of education. Something that we have been pondering about for a while, whether or not should we do it, whether or not it will create some sort of a stir. But well, we are here and we want to go ahead and do it. So, the topics that we'll be covering for today will be the definition of education, the history behind the whole education system. Since Adam is not here, we've got someone else who will be talking or sharing their experience about their era of schooling. And then we'll talk about mine and Naveen's. And then we'll go ahead with what the school mean. Is there a correct or correct teaching method? And how do you see the future of education? Why J.Krishnamurthi Ramana? All right. So we are going to go ahead now, guys. If you guys can comment at the section below, what is the definition of education? How many of you all know what the definition of it is? We are so used to it, right? We have, been brought up in the same system for years and years together, from our grandparents to great grandparents to even as we termed it modern day education. The traditional way of learning has evolved, and by the definition by Cambridge, the process of teaching or learning, especially in a school or college, or the knowledge that you get from this. And another introduction or definition by Merriam-Webster, the action or process of educating or of being educated, also a stage of such a process. Now, education has taken a lot of evolutions. If you actually notice, if you actually Google up and read about how education came about, it's really, really interesting, because the modern day education, however, is something very, very, it came up during the modern civilization, all right, during the industrial civilization by one man. And this man decided to industrialize the whole modern day education. And his name is Horace Mann. You guys can Google him up, and I'm sure our guest speaker for today will be able to share a little bit more insight on how education has evolved. So moving on to the next, and here we have the whole teacher, Dr. Anbananthan, the author of a well-published book called The Whole Teacher. Something very interesting. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. The knowledge is immense. And Dr. Anba has a fair share of experience. He's got 14 plus years of experience in research, production process, product engineering, and other multinational companies. He's completed his PhD, especially in the Department of Curriculum, Teaching and Learning. So that's the reason why we brought him on board to share with you all at this point of time. Education has changed. And without further ado, let me bring on board Dr. Anba. Hello, Dr. Anba.
Hello.
Hi, Nishan. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, good. Naveen, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you.
All
I
right.
like the beard. Dr. Anba has never been. He's
You
always
look,
been without his beard. So thank you for joining us today, Dr. Anba. It's nice to see you. So our
You're welcome.
topic for today, murder of education. So before we get into the insights, you want to share a little bit of your experience, or what's your take on education?
All right. Good evening, everyone. The topic itself, I think, is a serious topic, the murder of education, right? Um, Before we go on, maybe I should ask. Now how many people have joined us today?
We've got three currently at the moment that were viewing us.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
So
the more will come in.
okay, so if I were to, could we have an interaction with them also?
Ken, let ask your question away, and then I'll put it up on the comment section.
Okay, all right, yeah. So, if I were to ask you all, what is what what is meant by education? I mean, why are we being educated? Have you ever asked that question? Why are we being educated? Maybe a child who's starting a standard one, or an adolescent who is completing Form 5, and joining a university. So why are we being educated? Maybe yeah, some of them, some of those who are logged in. Could we have some feedback on why are we being educated?
That's we'll wait for someone to reply, but I would like to answer that. I
Okay,
think
go
we
ahead,
are.
Ishman.
I think we are forced to, because that's the only thing that we know since the time we were born, right? I mean, be educated, otherwise you won't get a job. Otherwise, you can't survive in the society. You can't enhance your skills. You basically actually it ties up to whether or not you get a job at the end of the day, whether or not you get your salary, your livelihood. Everything
Correct.
depends on our
So
around that.
it seems like we are educated to get a job. Seems like an accepted reason to be educated is for us to get a job, right? But
Correct.
is that why we are being is that why we should be educated, or or is that reason to get a job? Is that reason too shallow of a reason for us to be educated,
Someone just
or are you all
commented.
happy with that?
Someone replied saying that birth, school, work, death. That's the purpose of being educated. That's the process of life.
Yeah, I guess a lot of us just get
Okay.
into that. Our parents tell us that since like our great grandparents felt that they had a struggle in life, and they felt that education is a way up to have a better livelihood. So eventually that's forced down to our parents, and our parents force that down to us. So eventually it's become like a norm that you're studying just to have a successful future. It's not
Hmm.
that about anything else. Yeah.
But then, yeah, I think the successful future is not a bad goal, not a bad one at all. But if the only means is to be is to get an education to arrive at that, then I think it should be questionable for us. So that is part of the discussion tonight. So we're trying to inquire if the purpose of education is totally different from what we've been told. What if we
Yeah.
discover that the purpose of education is totally different? Many will be surprised to find the root meaning to educate. Uh, the root meaning, the Latin equivalence of educere, educere, simply means that to educate is to bring out, is to draw out, bring out, or evoke something that is hidden and latent, something that is hidden, something that cannot be seen. Or in other words, the so they got that right, the Greeks, right? They got that right when they said that to educate simply means to draw out, which means to bring out the best from us, right? So
Right.
are we being educated to bring out the best from us, or are we being educated to actually get a particular job?
That's a tough question. I think now most of them will answer is to get a job, right?
Get a
That's
job. So maybe Nishan and Navin, maybe the human race don't really know what it means to be educated to bring out the best. They might not have a clue.
that's correct. That's correct. So I think having said that, Doctor, do you think that the schooling has a big role to play, and if you can share your experience, because you started school probably in the mid 70s or early 80s,
Yeah, I started
and
in 19.
versus
I started my standard one in 1976, the year Star Wars was released. I think,
may the
yeah.
force be with you.
I think only those who are born in 1969 can say that, lah. The Star Wars began when we entered school. So I followed through that saga for the remaining 20 or 30 years, and the last one just ended, right? Yeah. So
Correct.
76, I had a healthy schooling life. Primary and secondary school. The best subject in my secondary school was Pendidikan Jasmani PJ. So yeah, we will leave the class early for the PJ class, and we will come back late for the following class. So the one from five teacher who's always seen us coming in late for the class after the PE decided to call the supervisor. So one day, as usual, we walked in about 5, 10, 10, 15 minutes, 10 minutes late we came in. So when we walked in, we saw a few of our friends were already standing on the table. So seeing the supervisor, seeing the teacher, and I think she must have warned us before. So we need not ask anything. So we just went in and just stood on the table. So it was fun. I studied in a missionary school, and the teachers had characters. Teachers had characters. Teachers at that time became teachers because simply they wanted to make a change, and it was a profession that was looked up to. And I'm sure there are still such teachers available, but I suspect that the number of truly dedicated teachers may have dwindled. I cannot say this for certainty, yeah? May have dwindled.
Correct.
So, and then I went on to pursue a technical certification in Polytechnic, Sultan Haji Ahmad Shah in Kuantan.
Right.
First time I left home, survived being out from home the first time, with all the influences out there. So that's the reason I said I've survived. After
Right.
that, somehow there was a deep desire in me to pursue my degree. And of course, at that time, I was not a good enough student to pursue the degree locally because of our quota system. Whether we like it or not, only the cream of the crops get into the local university. So I was definitely not the cream of the crops. Uh,
Right.
uh, but saying that, uh, what is one to do when they are not the cream of the crops? If you know the bell curve, in statistics there is something called the bell curve. You would have heard that. So the bell curve
Yep.
simply means that about 68% of the population, or in any classroom, or in any standard or any form, will be in the middle of the curve, and the remaining, what, 68, 100 minus 68 is how many, Nishan?
I'm bad at maths. I think about 22.
22.
Yeah.
So about 11 and 11%
32,
left and right.
32.
So
Oh,
the extreme
32.
bad will
Oh,
be,
32.
yeah, the extreme bad will be 11, and the extreme good will be 11. So so statistically speaking, and I call the bell curve to be God's curve. So if God had intended that not everyone can be an excellent student, so what are the rest to do? So yeah, so I had to resort to working 1 year as a production technician in a factory. Then my dad was gracious enough to to mortgage the house that we lived at the time. Made some arrangement for me to pursue my degree. Did collected some credits in PGA Community College and pursued my degree. Did my bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering in South Dakota State. Was not a rich family at all, but they had all the heart to actually save the money to make it work for me. I pursued my master's in industrial management and came back home in 2000 in 1999 actually.
Right.
Then worked as an engineer, and I was also teaching part time. I was teaching part time at that time, and I actually fell in love with teaching. The classroom became an orchestra for me, where I could really, I saw myself going all out to actually help out students who were struggling in some way or another. So, and I was also a student of J.Krishnamurthi, a philosopher, a spiritual teacher, who have
Nice.
founded about 10 or 11 schools in India, and one school
Right.
in US and one school in UK. So I was inspired by his teaching and his notion on education. Very futuristic. I'm afraid even maybe not even 5% of the population is actually using Krishnamurti's take on education. So I was a keen student of Krishnamurti for about 15 years. Then in 2006, I had intention to pursue my doctoral work, and I wanted to study on. I wanted to do research on Krishnamurti's educational philosophy. It's my doctoral work, and I'm glad I found my thesis supervisor, Jack Miller, who was
Right.
who was a pioneer in this field of holistic education. He has written books like Education and the Soul, Holistic Curriculum, The Whole Child Education. He's simply the pioneer. So he's the only person that I could study with at that time, and glad that I got a full scholarship to pursue my studies in University of Toronto. My wife Kamini joined me. My daughter Ashwarya was born there, so it took me about 6 or 7 years to complete my doctoral work that resulted in the book that you may have seen, The Whole Teacher. The
Right.
smaller title is the transformational approaches for awakening the teacher within. And you see a person holding a young plant, just symbolizing that are we are we holding the students in our hands in such a manner, in a gentle manner, and embracing them. So there is a symbolic question that is being asked in that picture. So yeah, so that's pretty much how I
Wow.
tumbled into this journey, Nishan.
That's definitely really interesting. I think it's a very long journey that you have taken, and I think your works we have seen them personally, and we'd like to congratulate you on that. And thank you so much for sharing this journey with us. So having said that, right, Dr. Amba, from your time, you mentioned a few keywords, teachers and character. The system was very different back in the day, and when me and Naveen, we started off schooling in the late 90s and early 2000s, right? And there was a lot of fiasco going on between the choice of language that's being used in the education, and we had our fair share of experience learning or being educated in India. It was like a world of difference to us. How can one part of the world practices certain type of teaching methodology versus another part of the world where the methodology is completely different? I mean, when I was in India, the it was fast paced. It's always about competition, uh, and I had to, So when I joined there, I had to go 2 years back. If let's say I was from two, I had to start at probably standard six before I could catch up because they were way ahead, advanced in terms of their curriculum. Of course, there weren't much of a PE oriented, or the exercise or extracurricular activities, but they were very academic oriented. It's always, you see a lot of doctors coming out, a lot of engineers coming out. The whole schooling system is very much different. So when you say when I say that, right? So how is the system here, and why are the systems different? Like, is there a correct way of learning or teaching in this kind of profession?
I would say there's a breakdown of failure in modern education, be it anywhere. Be it anywhere. There are few countries that I think may be doing it rightly now. The Scandinavian countries have, I think, especially Finland, have gotten it right. I think the ministers in Finland are now not from Earth. I think they are definitely from Mars or Venus. I don't see them to be Earthlings. They're totally different. So be it India, be it Malaysia, be it many countries around the world, Nishan and Naveen, I think there is. Personally, I feel there is a failure in modern day education. Not a failure in a sense of not getting people or students a job that they want. That they're quite successful. But let's take a step back on why I share that the modern day education is a failure. When during the industrial age, there was a boom in industries, right? So people
Yeah,
were getting into business, and they found that people were not equipped with the necessary skill set to actually get into the work where people the businesses exist. So therefore they slowly started the schools. In fact, the Waldorf school was started by a group of factory workers, if I'm not mistaken. Waldorf school was inspired by Rudolf Steiner. So you find that the school was created is like a Xerox machine, right? Xerox, and maybe go and work, study and go and work. So
right.
so the education system predominantly started by actually supplying the workforce for the businesses that has soon become a corporate today, what is known as a corporate. So,
Right.
and then perhaps after that, the universities, more universities came about, so that people become more technically oriented, not only school education, but they are being more, they have mastered some skill, and they are better ready to suit the corporate world. So you find that so no wonder when you ask a young person now, or even anyone, why do you want to, let's say they want to study engineering, why do you want to do engineering? Because there's a demand out there. There's so many
Yeah.
jobs for engineering out there. What do you want to be a lawyer? There's so much of money to be made. So you find that most, I dare say, more than 95% of the students in this world today, I dare say, without taking a survey, they would say that they would not say that I want to study because I love it and my soul is crying to learn this. All right. So you don't
Right.
find that. So you find people get educated to go into a particular work. So it's I would say, could we call that a modern day slavery, where yeah, you modern day slavery. I mean modern day slavery. Yeah, that means
Yeah.
we don't have a choice to think for ourselves. We have not exercised the right or the freedom to discover what we are truly good at. There could be a great carpenter in you, but then you are sitting in the office crunching numbers. So that is the death of the soul. So, being the death
Right.
of the soul, welcome to today's topic of murder of education.
Wow. That's definitely an insightful. I mean, but I just got a question. How does someone come out from from that bubble or that circle. Because, for example, I mean, of course, we have had a lot of conversation based on this. We have met. Uh, when you're born into a middle class earning family and you are the breadwinner, you have no choice. Your education system that you have been put through has conditioned you in a way that you can't. You're not even able to think out of that box. Maybe they just believe is that is it, right? So how do you channel that, or how do you identify, or how do they break that chain?
Wow. You see, we recognize that the problem is there, right? So how do we break the chain? That's a $1 million question, Ishan. And we can only break the chain if we can educate the educator. We can begin
Right.
that, because it's not a problem with the students. The students have got no choice but to just receive. They are the receiving end. They receive,
Correct.
the knowledge is being transmitted to them. But
Right.
how can we ensure that we change the mindset of an educator, that it's not only important to transmit, but it's also important to transform. How can we?
Correct.
So first we need to have a heart of change from the teacher's point of view. Unless we have a heart of change from those who are in the teaching profession, you can't move an inch in this area. You can't move an inch. So, and also not only the teachers, the parents now. Can the parents also be included in the as a stakeholder for those who needs to be educated? That to educate does not only mean to to actually have an income. Why not do something what you love and still have that income? Why can't we have that? Why can't we have both in two in one? So the short answer for your question is, unless the education system changes, which is so we need the education system to be run by those who are keen in bringing out the best from us, not those who have any other thoughts. That is why I shared that the education is the politicians in Finland, they have gotten it right. Today, Finland, being one of the best model of education, they believe that the end goal of education is, can they make their students happy? All right. After being
That's
educated, what they're being educated, are they being happy? And you'll be surprised to hear that in Finland, every year after their high school, the largest number of students who apply to a particular major is for the education, the faculty of education. So to become a teacher in Finland is more difficult than for you to become a medical doctor or an engineer. And
well,
yeah. So it's remarkable how they have placed the education as the highest pedestal. Why? Because they knew that if they make the best teacher, if they pay the teachers well, and if they make the best teacher, that best teacher would then make the best engineer. That best teacher would bring out the best lawyer, would churn out the uh, best in everything else. So that is why I shared a country that has not gotten this, a country that has not gotten into the journey of upgrading the teaching profession and transforming the teaching profession. We will remain to be, we will remain supplying workforce, supplying slaves to the corporate world.
that's
Yeah.
that's a very strong word there.
But I
But
think that's a
I agree
brutal
with what
truth,
you have
right?
said.
It's a brutal truth out there. So definitely we should change our mindset. The parents change their mindset towards in actually guiding the children to the right path, rather than just being a slave to the current industries or whatever is happening. So, Nafama, I'd just like to ask you, so what is the whole teacher actually?
Yeah, the whole teacher. Okay, my doctoral work. This is my doctoral work. The book is a result of my doctoral work. So the whole teacher is seen through the lens of J. Krishnamurthi's educational philosophy. J. Krishnamurti is a philosopher, spiritual teacher, and the whole teacher is someone who is rooted in an alternative education called the holistic education. And some of the schools that has come out from this root of holistic education includes the Montessori schools, the Waldorf schools, and the Krishnamurti schools around the world. By Montessori school or kindergarten, I don't mean the Montessori that's predominant here. Here, maybe it's a watered down, perhaps it's a watered down Montessori system. By Montessori system and Waldorf and Krishnamurti schools, they are the earliest pioneers in actually providing an education that not only uh, provided excellence in education, but also they related the nature to the students. They engage the children's what is their relationship with nature, what's the relationship with the plant kingdom, what's the human relationship with the animal kingdom, what is the human relationship with one another. All right, so you find that in the Krishnamurti school that I went for my doctoral work, I interviewed 4 teachers, and that interview for about 60 hours became the gist of the book that you saw, the whole teacher. And a remarkable school. In that school, they plant their own vegetables, and they've got a cook who uses what they plant, and they provide the vegetarian food for their students. So you can imagine that. And yeah, so yeah, that is in a nutshell. Did I answer your question?
Yes, otherwise we'll be extracting the
Yep.
entire information out of the book for you.
You don't want to take out the fun out of the book, lah, for people to read.
Yeah. So, having said that, because I understand from your work that it's the transformational that can the teacher bring about in a classroom setting or in any setting where there's a teacher and there's a student, right? So, how do you see our the future of education? Because you've got kids yourself, and they are going through primary and secondary, and a few of us also going through the modern day university. So, how do you see the future of education,
Wow.
be it in this country or in this region?
So for me, it's a burden. It's a burden of knowledge for me, and I see the education system in this country, and I'm not bad mouthing it totally. They're trying their best, but they're simply transmitting. I don't see teachers trying to transform the students. I think that's a blatant truth. Huh? And I'm not blaming the teachers. Maybe they just don't know. Maybe they just don't know how to transform, because our teacher education simply teaches the student to just transmit and transact. So I don't blame them, but so every now and then when I come across how my kids are being educated, I try to make it a point to talk to the teachers and try to share with my children the truth about what they may be experiencing. So and in a gentle manner, that of course you don't want to poison their mind or anything. You just share the truth with them. So I don't know. So it's bleak in terms of even getting my own children to look at education as a way of bringing out best in them. I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping that they would end up with a teacher who transforms them, and maybe for their tertiary education, when they start their degree onwards, they would go after they would go after educating themselves for the real purpose of being educated. Now, having said that, what it means to learn? Why do we learn? I mean, forget about being educated, right? But what does it mean to learn?
I believe
To
learning is something when you want to gain a certain knowledge about a certain topic.
Okay.
That's where learning. I believe that's learning. But yeah, but yeah, it's. I believe that's what it is. I'm not sure about the rest because sometimes certain subjects definitely it's forced down your throat, so you have to learn it.
Yes.
But
In the,
uh,
okay. That is a
yeah,
general
but
take on learning. I mean, from the context of the whole teacher and the holistic education, what learning means is that you learn about yourself. It's a journey about knowing what you are, and in knowing the core of us. I think assuming that we feel that we have the guidance of the Creator or God. I believe that there is something core. There is a genius sitting in everyone. There is a genius sitting in every individual that is waiting to be unleashed. So the soul is crying out. The soul is crying out. So when you go and work in a place when you're not totally interested with that work, you are actually uh, I think there's no greater punishment than that. There's no greater agony than that, to drag yourself to doing what you really don't enjoy. So learning first means to actually find out who you are, and finding out that genius that is sitting in you. So we need someone who is a whole teacher, who actually needs to go through their journey of wholeness themselves. Otherwise, they will not be able to recognize that wholeness of the journey of their student. So how can why? So this is almost a prerequisite. So a teacher who's in a journey of trying to bring out the best from their student, should they not have found that wholeness themselves? How can a teacher point towards a journey where they themselves have not gone?
Wow, those are very deep, deep questions. I mean, I agree with you, Dr. Anba. I think we have had our fair shares of exchange on this. Uh, but again, this is a question that I keep asking myself. I'm trying to figure things out. Naveen is trying to figure things out. And, people around us are. But how does someone find that? Like, for instance, I had my education disrupted because of certain systems in the past, and I had to like stop, then start back again, and take a different journey altogether. And I don't know how to find that calling or the call. So how does one sort of guide themselves or ask for help? Because there's a notion in everybody's head right now that time is short, and on top of that, the pandemic has accelerated that fear. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be alive tomorrow because of the pandemic, so I need to earn as much money as I can. I need to make everything transactional. There should be a ROI for all what I'm doing. So how does one find their their path, like a compass? Is there like a compass?
I think dwelling within, Nishan, dwelling within, keep asking yourself, is this it? Whatever that you're undertaking as an adolescent, are you satisfied with it, or are you digging deeper? And that doesn't mean that we become narcissistic, right? Into digging deep into our own ego. No, I didn't mean that. Find that silent spot within you to actually dig deep to. So in that in that silent moment that you are by yourself, I think nature will speak to you, God will speak to you, the creator will will then be communicating with you. So this is nobody can prove this. So if you want to try, just try being silent, which is a difficult thing. And I think Nacha, I see a question from the audience. What does the pandemic mean for the whole teacher? The pandemic doesn't mean anything for the whole teacher. The pandemic for the whole teacher who accepts nature as it is. Perhaps the whole teacher will first need to get the two vaccination first. So the whole teacher needs to get the two vaccination first, and continue to guide and touch another person, and whenever you have a chance, talk to them about what do they truly love to do. All right.
Interesting.
Like there's a full question to it actually.
So, and the question is, in an increasingly challenging and resource scarce society, what is a practical framework or infrastructure that can help teachers do the introspective work that is needed to be the teacher their students need? It's a good question. The framework is there. The framework is called the holistic education. It's there. And a more detailed framework is the framework of the whole teacher. Actually, at least one example of the framework that there is. The teaching profession is not easy. Yeah? The teaching profession is very challenging, and the teacher burnout is something very real. And so,
Right.
because the teaching profession is something giving, although they may not be transforming, but we can't blame them. That's what they know. So in giving, they are when they give and give, they are actually burning out. So simple breath meditation, like simply observing their breath for about 15 minutes or 30 minutes a day will help them to replenish. So that is very real. Anybody who feels burned out, anyone, not only teachers, you need to spend about 15 minutes or half an hour for every 6 hours. Just observe your breath, and it's called the breathing meditation. So why breath? Because breath is readily available. Just close your eyes. Just close your eyes and focus on the breath, and other thoughts will come in, but gently refuse the other thoughts and watch back your breath. So if you can do that, initially it will be difficult, but when you do that, you find that in the absence of thinking, because when you observe your breath, the resultant is the absence of thinking. So in the absence of thinking, you will get into that introspective to be the teacher that you need to be for your students.
Wow, that's an insightful. Definitely, I'm going to try out that.
So
The breathing technique.
for every 6 hours, try a half an hour breathing meditation. Try it earnestly, and I don't need to show any research. Meditation, it's well proven in many medical journals also to improve so many illnesses. Huh?
Right. Right. So it's all like it's all tied up, right? In this whole being a whole teacher, it's just not about a subject. It's everything around you is what I understand from being transformational.
Yeah, the subject and the object, right? You are the object and you're teaching the subject. So what makes, for example, let me give a metaphor. What makes an actor become an excellent actor? What makes a great actor? When we see a great actor, we don't see them acting, right? They become that act. So when the actor become that act, is no more acting. Like
Wow.
Jack Nicholson, an older actor who acted in this movie, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It's an older movie where he played the role of a psychiatric patient. All right, he was a psychiatric patient. So he really got into that role. He's a wonderful actor. And after that shooting was done, he was actually hospitalized for a couple of months in a hospital because he could not come out from that situation. So do you see? So when you become that act, when like for a teacher who's teaching mathematics, if the teacher is just transmitting, if the teacher is just transmitting, they might not have gone that deep in understanding this. But imagine the teacher goes deeper into doing research on that subject that they're teaching. And when the teacher goes deeper into that subject, the teacher becomes that subject. When the teacher becomes that subject, imagine, do you think when the teacher becomes that subject, they'll be able to touch the students with that subject matter?
Definitely.
Absolutely, I
Absolutely.
agree.
Absolutely. The reasons teachers are not touching the lives of students today is simply because they have not become that subject. This is a
Correct.
subject, this is a subject, and they are separated from the subject. Forever they are transmitting. But if they become the subject, when they become the subject, do you all think it's easier to transform?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think it's a art that is all that's lost, and I think teachers or parents need to find that. And yeah, it's amazing. I mean, how we have gone through, and this I believe that this particular research is not hidden. It's just not known to the world. Because when I was going through JK's articles and other scholars, they have been talking about this, but it wasn't the popular or worth the
Yeah.
investment kind of.
You know why it's not popular? Because it's not profitable. It's not
Yeah,
profitable. So
correct.
that's a world that we're living in today. Anything that dwells that helps you to dwell deeper within, it's not profitable. So it's not a fashion. It's not a fashion. So and this is where the Finnish people, the Finland people, have gotten it absolutely right in putting the education as the highest in their pedestal. So they are, yeah, their politicians are not from Earth.
No, I just feel that some parts or most of them should start shifting their mind towards this path or this thought, at least on actually education is not something that you can make.
I lost
To
your voice. You're
oh,
going back and forth between muting and not. Yeah. Could you say
I
that again?
guess
Yeah.
there was some technical issue for the admin person.
Yeah, my bad,
No,
my bad.
no, I was just saying that education shouldn't be looked at or industry that where you make money, because the most of them for the world about 50 or 60 years has been only that it's only done in a way to earn money, a way to be rich or to expand your empire or whatnot. But I feel education should be given as it is, to people to learn, to enjoy, because as what Dr. Anbar said, I did have a teacher who was a subject, the subject, who came and taught us. Until now, I believe we ask all my schoolmates who have left school, worked, got married, whatnot. If you ask them about this particular teacher, they'll exactly tell you what he taught and how did he actually got us interested in biology and maths. So those are kind of teachers that we want. Unfortunately, yeah, during this time, it's not happening, but let's hope that we could bring such of an education to Malaysia and spread it around the world.
Absolutely. There's a Komala Lakshmi was sharing that and depressed after that. Remember reading about this. So maybe if she could share what she meant, what she means by that, I'm not sure.
She meant about the actor you mentioned, Jack Nicholson.
Mm.
But the actor, okay, depressed after that. Correct. Okay, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
He
yeah,
got depressed and
yeah.
and he got into that act actually because he was a psychiatric patient, and definitely psychiatric patients are depressed. So so he became the so the depression and him, there was no distance between him and the depression. The depression became him, and he became depressed. So that's an important metaphor for us to remember that if we don't internalize into anything, if we don't, if something is important for us, and if we don't internalize it, you will not get it totally.
Right, right. So we're towards the end of our show, and before we leave, there's one particular question I wanted to ask you: why J. Krishnamurti and Ramana? Because uh, your work revolves, or rather, your work is them. Why these two figures?
Okay, J. Krishnamurti was instrumental in the way I began my thought process, and Krishnamurti's greatest contribution to mankind is to help people to see how conditioned we are, and how ugly we are on the inside as a conditioned human being, how greedy we are, how lustful we are, how angry we are, name it, all the conditioning. So Krishnamurti really helped me to look into my conditioning, and truly a remarkable modern teacher who helped me to see the chiseling away of my own conditioning over the years. I could almost see myself chiseling away my conditioning, if you know what that means. And that was Krishnamurti. And at the during my doctoral work in University of Toronto, I tumbled into Ramana. Ramana Maharshi is known as the silent sage in Arunachala. Arunachala Hill is one of the most sacred hill in Tamil Nadu. So his samadhi is in Tiruvannamalai, a town in about a couple of hours away from Madras. And not much difference between what Ramana also advocated, the meditation of who am I, and who in that inquiry of who am I, the I is the ego. So Ramana suggested that if you do that inquiry on who am I, ask that question. Okay, when I ask myself who am I say I'm my name, and when I really inquire, am I my name? Not really. That is just something that's given to me when I took birth. Okay, then am I my title? Absolutely no. Definitely no. Am I my that any wealth that I might have? Definitely no. So when you start negating, when you truly see that yes, you're not this, you're not that, you're not this, finally what you remain is that self, that capital self, that Atma, you may call it. So that's a Brahman. And so in Ramana, I found the father figure. That although although like the sage Krishnamurti took my hand and handed me over to Ramana. So Ramana is certainly the father figure. Mm, so the surrender to a guru or God is instrumental also in the work of the whole teacher. In essence, the whole teacher, you can see in the Hindu parlance, the whole teacher can be seen as the inner teacher or that Sadguru, not the contact guru. Uh, there is a name to him, but the Sadguru, the meaning of the Sadguru is the teacher within. So in essence, I did not see it then, but in later years after completing this research, and when I became more involved in Ramana's work, I realized that the whole teacher is nothing but that inner teacher in you, or that God in you, or that Brahman in you. So evoking that whole teacher simply means that evoking that your inner higher self. And when you get in touch with that higher self, You don't need anything else. You will have that total guidance that will guide you. Then it's no more your perception or the way you look at it. It is simply God's perception. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that today, Dr. Anba. We are right at
Yep.
the end of the show, and I'm sure that you had a fantastic journey, an experiential journey, uh, finding what you really love, and I hope people who are listening or viewing this would be able to at least start somewhere, because a lot of us we don't know where to find. Like for me, I never knew where do I find this, because sometimes when you question the very self itself, am I going against something? Am I doing something right? It's always that so-called the sinful thoughts that come into your mind. And I believe in this conversation that we had with you today, uh, people will start inquiring. The inquiring will start to take place, and it will be hopefully lead them to a wonderful journey.
Thank you, Nishana. Would there be any question from anyone? Any participants who
Yes.
may want to?
Don't have any questions. Anybody can put up your questions on the comment section or leave your questions, and we can direct Dr. Anba to answer them on the comment section as well. Feel free. We will give out our contact details. If you'd like to know more about the whole teacher or you want to purchase the book, please do reach out to us, and we'll be able to direct you. And if you are a teacher, you know someone who's a teacher who's looking to be a part of this transformational journey, Dr. Anba is also the right person to reach out to, and he'll be able to guide you in the profession that you are in. So it looks like we don't have any other questions for tonight. Nacha said
Thank you.
no questions. Just thank you for
Thank
your
you.
service, Dr. Anba.
Thanks, Nacha. Appreciate it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining in today. I hope it was an insightful conversation and a truthful one. Hopefully, it does not set up any controversies after this. Right?
No
Have a good night.
controversies.
Take care.
Thanks.
That's it.
Hey, everyone.
All right. Good night. 10X
Thanks.
for life.
Take care. Bye. Bye.
Bye.